My name is Jessica. I'm 29 years old. I'm a wife to my amazing husband, Colton. I'm a mom to my 2 toddlers, Adeline and Asher, and I'm a pastor. I live in Los Angeles, California, and as of October 2021, I am a breast cancer previvor. This is my story. Cancer has been woven into the theme of my family's story for the past 6 years. So this isn't just my story. This is about my mom, my aunt, and my grandpa. And they all laid the foundation for me to get to where I am today. But let's rewind to October 2015. My husband and I got married. We get back from our honeymoon, and unfortunately, the honeymoon phase ended rather abruptly. We found out the news that my mom had the diagnosis of breast cancer. My mind, my head was spinning. I couldn't believe it. My mom is incredible, amazing. She loves the Lord, and I just thought, this cannot be. The doctors thought that it would be a very simple procedure, a lumpectomy, in December of 2015. Upon doing the lumpectomy, they discovered that the tumor was actually a very rare form of breast cancer that was fast growing, very aggressive, and very likely to return. I remember being up in Destin, Florida with Colton, shopping at an outlet mall right before Christmas, and my dad calls me to tell me this news that my mom was gonna have to receive chemotherapy. And I don't know why, but chemo just seems like a death sentence. It's not, but it felt like it. As her daughter, I absolutely hated watching my mom go through this process, but I was committed to being by her side every step of the way. After chemo and after hair loss and vomiting and being so sick, my mom moved on to radiation. I don't even think she had finished the treatments yet. And she finds out the news that her little sister, 4 years younger, my favorite aunt, Amy, also has stage 3B breast cancer. Can't imagine my grandmother and how she was coping and dealing with that, seeing both of her daughters fight for their lives. It was horrible, and honestly, I try to block out a lot of the memories of that year. And they're not memories that I want to revisit. But even in the midst of all of that, God was so faithful. So my mom's fighting, my aunt is fighting for her life. 2017 rolls around, and the doctors, I guess, got a little smart and decided, okay, 2 sisters with breast cancer, maybe there's something here. Maybe we need to do some genetic testing. Through the process of elimination, they decided to go ahead and test my grandpa and my mom and my aunt for a specific type of gene called BRCA1 and BRCA2. And unfortunately, my grandpa, my aunt, and my mom all have BRCA2. Because of this BRCA2 gene, this made things for my aunt and my mom even more serious. And so both of them moved forward with radical preventative surgeries, a complete hysterectomy, and double mastectomies with reconstructive surgery. I didn't know what BRCA2 meant, and I really didn't care at the time. All I cared about was the fact that my mom and my aunt were cancer-free. They were healthy. I wasn't thinking about the consequences of this genetic mutation. And so I just moved on. It was a thought that was there, but I kind of ignored it, suppressed it, whatever you want to call it. I moved on. But then 2020 rolls around, and I mean, everybody knows what 2020 was. It was horrible for a lot of different reasons. But for me personally, I wasn't feeling like myself at all. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling anxious. So I finally decided, after months of just aching, throbbing pain, to book an appointment with my primary care doctor. I explained to him all of my symptoms and all that was going on. I told him that my family was about to move to California at the end of 2020, and he stopped me and looked at my medical history and was like, hey, I think we need to talk about this BRCA2 gene. And my primary care doctor encouraged me to set up an appointment with my OBGYN to start the process of genetic testing. It was a few weeks before I found out any news, and I was told, hey, if you have the gene, we will give you a call and we'll ask you to come into our office. But if you don't have the gene, then we'll just tell you the news over the phone. End of October 2020, I get the call, hey Jessica, can you go ahead and come into our office? We have some news to share. And I knew at that moment that I had the same gene that my mom and my aunt and my grandpa had, BRCA2. I feel like it was kind of tunnel vision in my mind, like the walls were caving in and the sound in my ears was going out. And I know I cried a lot. But I also just felt really overwhelmed, and I thought, what does this mean for me, for my life? What does this mean for my kids? What does this mean for my husband? Am I gonna have to do what my mom went through? Am I gonna have to have chemo? Am I gonna have to have radiation? Well, what's gonna happen? All of those thoughts were swirling, and I sat there fearing for my life. And I didn't even have cancer, but I knew what it meant. I was handed a pile of paperwork, and I began to look at it and stare at the statistics, and I read that by the age of 50, I have an 84% chance of breast cancer. Compare that to the average woman who by age 50 has only a 7% chance of breast cancer. You do the math. The odds aren't looking great for me. Not only do I have a really high risk of breast cancer, but my risk for ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer, skin cancer are all increased as well. And I just looked at these numbers and thought, what am I gonna do? I didn't know what to do. I felt overwhelmed, terrified, isolated, hopeless, really. And then we had to move. We moved from Florida to California within a matter of weeks of finding out that news. In the middle of a pandemic, I get to California, literally the state seems like it's on fire. We go into lockdown, couldn't leave my house, couldn't leave my apartment. I got COVID, and I'm processing this news that I have BRCA2. I began to do more research and just found out how rare it is that only 4% of white women have this gene. That's 1 in 800 women have this gene in America. And I began to ask the questions, why me? What's up? What's happening? Why? And those questions paralyzed me for a little bit. Flash forward to April of 2021. I decided after a lot of prayer and a lot of research and a lot of conversations with Colton that it was time to get a move on, to stop letting these thoughts and these worries consume me, but to begin my journey forward. I was presented 3 different paths, and it was up to me. What would I choose? What would I decide? Path number 1 is to do nothing. Path number 2, I could move forward with scanning every 6 months, mammograms. I could get scans of my ovaries, ultrasounds, MRIs. I would be on that roller coaster of, do I or don't I have cancer? Path number 3 is radical, preventative, and most women do not choose to go down path number 3 because it seems aggressive. But path number 3 involves preventative surgeries, including bilateral or double mastectomy and complete hysterectomy. So I began to pray about and consider my options. And after, again, a long time of praying, Colton and I came to the decision that I wanted to choose path number 3 because I believe that God gave me this information to act on. I believe that He gave me a choice when it comes to how I want to be healed. And I could have done any of the paths, and I believe God would have been with me either way. But I am also going to stand on the facts that incredible scientists and researchers have developed over time so that I don't have to go down the same path that my mom and my aunt walked. I don't have to have chemo. I don't have to have radiation. I don't have to have a lumpectomy and lose my hair and react to horrible news. Instead, I can take this information and walk down a path to prevent those things from happening to me. I want to be there for my kids. I want to have a long life. I want to be healthy. I want to be whole. I want to be there for my husband. And I believe we have a long life ahead of us, and cancer does not have to be a part of my story. Though my story may be incredibly different than your story, I know that we all have a story and we're all going through something. And usually in life, there are pieces and chapters that are a lot harder, a lot more difficult than we ever would have authored for ourselves. And it can feel overwhelming, isolating, intimidating, terrifying. But what I want you to know is that you're not alone. And I'm not alone. And I hope that my story offers you just a little bit of hope, a little bit of peace, a little courage to face whatever it is that you're facing. At the end of the day, I stand upon my faith. I stand upon the fact that God is with me. He is for me. He has never left me. He will never forsake me. And I know that I will be healed and whole. And I am praying that for you as well. I want to invite you along my journey as I face a double mastectomy, reconstructive surgery, and then trying to navigate the healing process with 2 toddlers in my apartment. So will you come along for the ride? Because it's going to be a ride. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.